Bushman's Hole tragedy. On December 17, 1994, 20-year-old Deon Dreyer was diving in Bushman's Hole, a colossal water-filled sinkhole in South Africa, when he lost consciousness at a depth of 164 feet, 50 meters, and sank into the abyss. His body was never found, leaving his parents with a decade of unresolved grief. For 10 years, Deon Dreyer lay lost in the crushing darkness, more than 800 feet below the surface. 10 years later, on October 28, 2004, a world-renowned Australian technical diver named Dave Shaw was attempting a record-breaking dive in Bushman's Hole. At a staggering depth of 886 feet, 270 meters, his light swept across a human body, lying on its back in the silt, arms reaching for a surface it would never see again. The dive mask was still eerily in place on the skeletonized head. Shaw knew instantly it was Deon Dreyer. He tried to lift the body, but it was stuck fast in the mud. Knowing the extreme danger of overexerting himself at such a depth, Shaw tied a guideline to the body's harness so it could be found again, and began his grueling, nearly 10-hour ascent. When he surfaced, he made a promise to Deon's parents. He would go back and bring their son home. Honestly, calling Dave a legend isn't even enough, if you ask me. This man was diving at depths where your brain basically starts sending apology letters to your body. On January 8, 2005, Dave Shaw descended once more into the blackness of Bushman's Hole to fulfill his promise. The plan was meticulous. He would place Deon's body into a specialized body bag, and a team of support divers stationed at various depths would then bring him to the surface. But at 886 feet, things went catastrophically wrong. The body was more entangled in the mud than he had anticipated. The immense physical effort of trying to free it at such an extreme pressure caused a rapid, fatal buildup of carbon dioxide in his system. The guideline he had attached in October became entangled with his own equipment, and in the darkness and confusion, Dave Shaw died, next to the man he had promised to save. The support divers waited at their stations in the deep, dark water. Then, they saw a light ascending from the abyss. As it drew closer, they were met with a sight that was both tragic and miraculous. It was the bodies of both Dave Shaw and Deon Dreyer, rising together. The lines and the partially inflated body bag had created just enough buoyancy to lift both men from the bottom. In death, Dave Shaw had fulfilled his promise. The support team intercepted the two divers and completed the long, somber ascent, bringing both men home. The Cave of the Black Spring. On December 2nd, 1979, a group of cavers entered Ogof Ffynnon Du, or the Cave of the Black Spring, in South Wales. Among them were John Fitton and David Goff. OFD, as it's known, is one of Britain's deepest and most extensive cave systems, a complex maze of passages. But its most formidable feature is the active streamway that runs through its core. This powerful underground river drains the vast moorlands of the mountains above, and it is notoriously prone to flooding. While the weather at the cave entrance may have been unremarkable, conditions on the mountains above were changing. Rain falling on the wide catchment area was gathering and being funneled into the subterranean drainage system. Deep inside the cave, this translates into a sudden, violent, and often unpredictable surge of water, known as a flood pulse. This is exactly what happened that day. While navigating the main streamway, the group was hit by one of these pulses. The water level rose dramatically in moments, and the force of the current became an unstoppable torrent. John Fitton and David Goff were caught by the full force of the flood. They were swept from their feet and washed away into the churning, debris-filled water. In the tight, enclosed passages of a cave, being caught in a flood of this magnitude is a death sentence. The power of the water makes it impossible to find a handhold, to fight the current, or even to keep your head above the surface. The two men were battered against the rock walls and drowned in the chaos. The incident triggered a major recovery operation. The subsequent inquest, held in January 1980, was unusually thorough. The jury, which included experienced miners, delved deep into the specifics of the cave and the incident. They recommended that a communication system be installed in the streamway to warn cavers of rising water levels. While this proved impractical, the tragedy did lead to a significant change in safety procedures. In the years that followed, permanent, high-visibility markers were installed throughout the streamway, pointing the way to high-level bypasses and safe areas that could be reached in an emergency. The Goff and Fitton incident became a sobering lesson for the caving community on the terrifying and sudden power of water underground. Wookey Hole Tragedy. On November 14, 1981, a 22-year-old Oxford medical student named Keith Potter geared up for a dive in the Wookey Hole cave system in Somerset, England. Keith was a highly respected and accomplished caver, a leading member of the Oxford University Cave Club, known for his boundless enthusiasm, determination, and, above all, his meticulous and cautious nature. He was a man who, on a grueling 35-hour expedition in Spain, had sustained a knee injury and agonizing friction sores, yet still spent hours searching for a bypass to a sump. His friends and colleagues considered him absolutely reliable, but in the specialized world of cave diving, he was still considered a trainee. The dive that day was a training exercise, a trip through the underwater passages, or sumps, that link the various chambers of Wookey Hole. The goal was to navigate the flooded section from Chamber 9 to the air-filled Chamber 20. For the experienced team, it was a relatively routine dive in a well-known system. The dive proceeded as planned, and Keith successfully navigated the submerged passage. He was just moments from completing the dive, but he never surfaced in Chamber 20. When he failed to appear, the alarm was raised. A search was initiated, and the recovery team found him at the end of the flooded tunnel, just feet from the surface. The cause of death was as simple as it was shocking. He had drowned. For reasons that will never be fully understood, Keith's mouthpiece, the regulator supplying his air, had come out of his mouth. There was no sign of a struggle, no equipment malfunction, and no entanglement. He was tragically close to safety, in open water with an air-filled chamber directly above him. But in that critical moment, something went wrong. The death of a caver so known for his caution, in such a simple and inexplicable manner, sent a wave of shock and disbelief through the British caving community, serving as a brutal reminder that in the underwater world of a cave, a single, minor event can be instantly fatal. Calavera Cenote Cave Deaths. On March 1, 2016, a 26-year-old tourist from Spain joined a guided cavern tour in Calavera Cenote, the infamous Temple of Doom, near Tulum. The cenotes of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula are beautiful sunlit jungle pools, but they are merely the entrances to the largest underwater cave systems on Earth. Cavern tours are designed to give recreational divers a glimpse of this world, but they follow a critical rule. Always stay on the guideline, within sight of daylight. About 30 minutes into the dive, the group noticed the Spanish tourist was missing. For reasons known only to him, he had left the safety of the line and swam alone into the pitch-black labyrinth. He was instantly lost. A recovery operation was launched, and his body was found the next day deep within the cave. He had run out of air and drowned. A victim of the single deadliest mistake in overhead diving. Leaving the line is a simple error. But other dangers are just as lethal. On April 12, 2012, a different kind of tragedy unfolded in Cenote, Chacmuol. A 34-year-old Spanish guide, Ismael Garcia Manzanares, led a recently married Brazilian couple, José Brugnaro Neto and Renata Alves Quireno Costa de Brugnaro, on what was their third dive of the day. The couple were not certified cave divers, Yet the guide made the fatal decision to lead them past the end of the safe cavern line and into the true cave system, without laying a connecting line back to the exit. Deep inside the cave, it's believed one of the divers, likely with poor buoyancy control, kicked the fine sediment on the floor. This triggered a catastrophic silt-out, a blinding cloud that instantly reduces visibility to zero. In the disorienting, pitch-black water, the group became separated from the guideline and each other. Panic set in. The recovery team later found a grim tableau of their final moments. The body of the husband, Jose, was found floating in mid-water, facing the exit but far from the line. He still had 200 psi of air in his tank, suggesting he may have drowned from a medical event or from panicking and overbreathing his regulator. The bodies of the guide, Ismael, and the wife, Renata, were found 200 feet, 61 meters further into the cave, facing the wrong way. The guide's mask was off, and his emergency long hose was deployed, indicating he was likely trying to share his own dwindling air supply with Renata, who had probably run out of air first. Both of their tanks were completely empty. They had become hopelessly lost in the silt-out, and swam deeper into the cave until their air and their lives ran out.